Anything from Dave about the act of creation? Or what it feels like when you're in there and working on a painting? Are you getting it right? You know, are you trying to achieve an unattainable goal or anything?
I suppose so. It's just a dialogue, really. It just sort of, it's like a good conversation. It carries on when it's interesting. It's
give and
take. I suppose in the big picture, you're back to believing in things, what you need to get you through. I've never had any time for the occult or anything like that, simply because, but I'm really interested in why people believe in these things, why people need these things. And I think we all find our own gods.
You know what it seems to me in Cages? In Cages it seems it's a search for meaning. Yeah. Maybe it's asking more questions, you know, than providing answers.
I'm much more interested in the questions.
Asking the questions.
Yeah, and then talking about the answers.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe is there any answer specifically inside Cages? Do you think?
God, no. But
it's an exploration.
There's lots of sort of interesting stuff to chew over. I hope. Yeah. I mean, I'm more interested in keeping the dialogue going.
Well,
than providing full
stops.
I'm
amazed. It seems like you're bringing together different people's art. You see, you have the writer, you have the artist, and the musician. You see, are all these ultimately the same thing? Is it the act of creation that is the art, not the form?
It's just the things that we believe in, the things that we hold on to take us through the day. Right. And on a small scale, I suppose it's the distraction as well. Right. I enjoy the problems of making a painting, or making a book, or worrying over a bit of dialogue or whatever. Partly because it's wonderful to do, partly just because it's a great distraction, and I'm happily distracted from sort of bigger, uglier things that I'd rather not think about at that time.
It is 4:01 on KUCI in Irvine. That's what you're listening to, and what you are hearing is an interview with Neil Gaiman, comics artist, author, and Dave McKean, a illustrator, comics illustrator, and we spoke to them on the 10th of this month up at Golden Apple Comics in Hollywood, and this is a special extended edition of Holographic Universe. We'll be here till 6, so stay tuned. We'll get back to the interview now.
Very impresses me about Cages is the experimentalization with the form you have. Particularly, I remember in issue 5, there were like several different things I've never seen before in comics. Is that very important to you, the experimenting?
Well, yes, apart from anything else, because it's just virgin territory. I mean, there's very little experimentation been done. Comics exist. I mean, obviously big notable exceptions, right. But generally, it's been stuck in one gear for 60 years. Right. And it just has so many places to go. If you just bring it down to its absolute basics of a narrative of some kind, non-specific, and imagery of some kind, again, not specific. Yeah, it doesn't need necessarily word balloons or to be drawn in a specific way, or any of the sort of stuff that's accreted around it over the last 50 years. It really is a very raw and basic and wonderfully powerful medium.
Definitely. I think it's probably the best way to tell a narrative story.
Well, it's very intimate, is the nice thing about it. I mean, movies, I think, can deal with some things in a wonderfully visceral way. Sure. You're sitting in a big theatre with a bunch of people and everybody roars with laughter or everybody jumps or whatever. Sure. And that's a great experience.
Sure.
And it lends itself to certain types of things very well. But comics are very intimate. They have the sort of intimacy that a novel has, but also visual intimacy that a drawn image has. So, I mean, I've been surprised that they're almost exclusively used for things that movies can actually do better. Right. I prefer these introverted ideas. I think they work well for that.
That's good.
We have to, I just got told by Bill that we have to be kind of wrapping things up.
Okay, so let's go for a last couple of questions from either of you, and then maybe, I mean, you never know, maybe later on we can get some more time or whatever. Okay. But right now...
Next time you're in California, we'd love to have you on the air.
We blame the aeroplanes, and we're sorry.
Have you guys done a lot of psychedelics, and have they affected your work at all in any way?
I never have, and in that respect, I'm fairly unique, I think, amongst British comic writers. You know, I know Grant, Alan, Jamie, and Pete are all heavily into psychedelics. I'm not, partly because, you know, half a spoon of monosodium glutamate will take me out.
We ought to at least hit Mr. Punch, though. Am I right in assuming that Mr. Punch is the second book of sort of a comics biography of your childhood? Is that supposed to be of 4? Did I remember you said at one point?
I think that there may be another one.
There may be
it's
2 more.
They're part of a sequence.
Yeah.
It's definitely not a sequel.
Starting with Violent Cases,
yeah.
going to Mr. Punch.
This is the next one.
2 more, perhaps?
Maybe eventually.
Yeah.
We know what the next one will be.
So I guess I'm going, is there an overall theme? Because both of them, Violent Cases and Mr. Punch, both seem to be about violence at the heart of them, if not the aspects of helplessness to somebody who may not be observing violence.
I think that essentially they're about childhood. And more than being about childhood, they're about our perception of childhood and about the relationship between us and memory. And yes, violence is a theme that runs through both of them. Parties is a theme that runs through both of them.
So I've just realised this is going to be like Auster's Heart of City of Glass. The first 2 are just going to be your stories, and by the last one you're going to say, no, that was my authorial voice, that story, this is what actually happened. They beat the crap out of me.
Well, you already described them as an autobiography filled with lies.
Yes, they are not in any way an autobiography, except that there are true things in them.
Right.
Unfortunately, the true things sit uncomfortably or otherwise, or comfortably, often jostling around in the same sentence with true things. And then I give them to Dave, who wasn't there, and he imposes his vision of events on them.
Is there kind of a chemistry between the two of you? You've worked together so often that you instinctively know what the other one will do, and you can sort of read each other's mind.
It's not instinct and it's not prediction. What it is trust, which is a different thing entirely. I have no idea what Dave will do normally. I can give something to Dave and say, here you go, I will brain dump. Here is everything in my head.
So that you wouldn't have
it'll happen with Sandman covers. He'll phone up and say, well, what's happening next to you, Sandman? So I'll say, well, I've got this kind of image, that kind of image. I'll give it to Dave, and he'll come back with something that will completely astound me. It's not what I expect.
You wouldn't have that same amount of trust with another artist you don't know as well?
No, actually. But it's not even, knowing as well. It's just the fact that I trust Dave implicitly to get it right.
Hit what you're trying to get at.
Yes, and to bring his own sensibilities to everything. One of the things that we've been saying ever since we first started working together in about 1986 is we sort of work together in the intersection of a Venn diagram. These 2 Venn diagrams, that place where they cross.
Right.
Dave is very Dave has his area of interests and expertise, and I have mine. And
sometimes it crosses?
Sometimes it crosses. A lot of the times we will introduce each other to things that the other one might like but would have missed. But there is also a point of intersection, and that point of intersection is utter trust.
Good.
You'll let Howard get in.
Do you guys, now, I don't know if there's any plans for turning Sandman or any of your other works into a movie. I know Good Omens kind of...
That nearly got to be a movie, and then the movie company, thank God, went under. Sandman is currently in the early stages of development. It has 2 screenwriters and an executive producer.
Who do you see as playing some of the people? Because I have some suggestions, but... Do you see Trent Reznor as Dream?
He's a bit short, isn't he? I don't know. I mean, there is a level on which, where films are concerned, I tend to want to really stay out of it. I mean, really, we're casting of... Tori would make a great Delirium.
David Bowie as Destiny?
God, I've never even thought of that one. I like Sean Connery as Destiny, just because he's got to get in somewhere, and Dave... Yes,
absolutely.
I was thinking of Winona Ryder as Death, even though everybody would go crazy. They would go apeshit. They'd go, no way. But then, she'd have to prove herself as an actress like Tom Cruise.
She's a remarkable actress, and I'm sure she could do it. I don't know. The thing... Bear in mind, you're dealing with Hollywood. You're dealing with this huge, strange We're being given rapid up signals. You're dealing with this huge, strange entity that really doesn't quite know what it's doing. There are two screenwriters involved who seem to be, have the right idea. There is an executive producer involved who doesn't particularly, but and I, for my part, have elected to stay out of it. I don't want to... If you get involved, you can get hurt. I'm quite seriously, this is my baby. It's something I've been living with for 7 years. Nobody should be asked to barbecue their own baby. Nobody should be asked to marinate, cut off its little fingers and marinate them. And nobody should be asked to be at the other end of the phone when some guy from Hollywood rings up and says, "Hey, Neil, you sitting down? Because, hey, I got news for you guy." "Okay, you ready?" "We got Arnie. We got Arnie. Arnie is Dream. Hey, it's casting against time, but Michael Keaton did Batman." And I don't want to be there for that call. If somebody else takes it, maybe it'll be a great movie, maybe it won't. And if it isn't a great movie, I won't have been around and getting buffeted and hurt. And if it is a great movie, then of course I'll take all the credit.